Hey everyone, my name is Miss Cosmo. Welcome to another episode of She Social Podcast here on my YouTube page. So happy to have you back again. We've been having some really awesome guests. And of course, I do have some awesome guests lined up for today as well. So I need you to do one thing and one thing only, that is to press that subscribe button, comment, like, engage on the conversations, and of course, let me know what you think is really dope about today's episode. So without further ado, I do have two awesome ladies who are going to be joining me for the show today. I have house DJ and radio presenter Linanza, and I also have Tabsi, who will be joining me a little bit later. But first, let's get straight into it. Linanza, how are you, babes?
I'm good, thanks. And how are you, Miss Cosmo?
I'm good, man. Really excited to have this conversation with you for today. As mentioned, this is She's Social. So, of course, we're chatting to females who are powerhouses in their respective fields in the entertainment industry. And you are one of those people who have hit my radar with regards to, obviously, firstly, on the DJ space. But having done a little bit more investigation, then I found out that you are way more than just an up-and-coming house DJ. So we're going to chat first about your DJing, and then we'll get into everything else. The first time I actually saw you DJ was at Fontaine, and I think it was probably your first gig, if I'm not mistaken, and you were a little bit nervous, but I could see that you were still confident in what you were doing. So shout outs to you for taking the plunge and taking such a big platform as your first gig. How does it feel?
Thank you so much. I just want to clarify, it was my first Fontaine.
Okay.
I've always wanted to go to Fontaine as a DJ because I've been going since 2016. So I remember the first time I got there and I was listening to the type of music they were playing, because they were playing all kinds of house music, and it wasn't even that big. I got there and the first thing that came to my mind, I was like, this is the space that I need to be in. This is the space that I want to be associated with. So as the years went by, in 2018, that's when I started to learn how to DJ, which was fairly rocky, because I remember I had asked one of my colleagues at the radio station, I'm like, dude, you need to teach me how to DJ, because he was a resident DJ at the radio station who would play live every Friday. So I was like, yo, TJ, you need to put me on this thing. This thing is where it's at. He's like, yo, no problem. I even offered to pay him. So I was like 100 Rand a month for lessons every week. So he taught me everything, and I was like, I need to play at Fontaine. So I was fortunate enough to be associated with an event that Homecoming was partnering with Tuks FM in order to attract Pretoria kids, UP students and everything, as the freshers, because we don't have the freshers anymore in Pretoria. Tuks took everything away from us. So I was fortunate. I was fortunate enough to be a part of that, and that's when the Homecoming people got to hear me first. But it was even horrible because it was my first time playing on CDJs. I played well, but I constantly played with someone next to me in case something went wrong, and that was a bad look. So months later, that's when they booked me at Fontaine, and I was like, you know what? I need to show these people that I mean what I like, what I say when I say I want to be a DJ. So it was quite good. It was one of my first few gigs, but yeah, it was amazing. It was Fontaine's birthday as well, so it was a big deal. It was a big deal.
I think shout outs for you for taking the plunge, for taking something or seeing an event that you wanted to associate yourself with and then going for it, because not a lot of people will actually then take the steps to then saying, okay, if I want to be on that type of a stage, what do I need to do? How do I get myself there? And constantly working towards it. So I like the fact that you gave yourself a goal and you were like, you know what, no matter what, at some point I am going to find myself on that stage, and you did it.
I got on that stage and I was like, okay, now what? Like, I got what I really wanted, and it forced me to always aim for more. I found myself in a space where I was constantly in places looking for a gig. I'd go to random spots and be like, hey, is there a DJ in here? They'll be like, no. I'm like, can I play? It's a Sunday, people are eating lunch. Let me try myself out. And it's a couple of spaces in Hatfield that are like that. And that's where I also got my first residency. Just after I started playing on CDJs, DJ Banks was like, you know what? I know this girl plays. Let's put her in TSC, the social club in Hatfield. Let her play here every week as a resident. From then onwards, I had a residency. Everything grew. I got another residency in Centurion. I got another residency in Waterfall. Nice. So I think, people gave me the benefit of the doubt a lot. And because I was constantly looking for something new, something to infiltrate, another event to get into. I think it exposed me to a lot of people, and a lot of people open to having me. So it was pretty dope.
That's awesome, man. I love your hustler's ambition, because at the end of the day, you don't wait for something to happen. You're like, okay, if I need to put myself out there, I need people to know about me, and you put yourself forward, which is a trait that a lot of people need to kind of get for themselves. If they want to make it in the music industry, they need to make sure that people know all about them. And I like the fact that you've also given yourself an opportunity to get those residencies, because that's a platform for you to constantly practice and to constantly try new things. Some people don't have equipment at home for them to practice on, and they actually practice at events and at gigs. That's how I started practicing, because I couldn't afford equipment when I first started DJing. So I know exactly what you're going through. You mentioned a lot about you playing on CDJs for the first time. What was it that you actually learned on if CDJs weren't your craft?
When I started DJing, my lessons with this guy were great, but then they started becoming inconsistent, because I had school, he had work, and sometimes I wouldn't be able to make it and he wouldn't be able to make it. So I remember I got money, money for a holiday for my birthday, because my birthday's in September. So I got money, I secured a holiday for Mozambique in March. And then in July, they were like, we are canceling the event. The agency cannot be able to take you to Mozambique anymore. However, we want to postpone to another date. Do you want to keep waiting for that date, or do you want your money back? I was like, actually, just give me my money back. I want to see something. So I took that money. I bought myself a controller for my birthday, and then I started learning at home every single day, learning. And people were like, yeah, you need to keep on learning on your controller, and then you need to finally be able to play on CDJs. Because I would even go, my first gig, I went with my controller, and then the person who was playing after me was Devin Gogo, and she told me, she's like, dog, you need to learn how to play on CDJs.
So much pressure.
I was like, the pressure. So when I got home, I was like, you know what? Fine, I'm gonna learn this thing. I got my first gig. I got sticks, brand new sticks, put a lot of music in it, put it through record box so that I don't have to suffer when I got there. When I got there, put my sticks in, the BPMs are reading. I'm like, let's go. And then that's when I started to dabble with, CDJs. I don't even remember the last time I used my controller, because I'm constantly yearning for CDJs. It's the real deal. So it gives you the real feel. So that's always something that I always wanted. So I think my switch to CDJs and my struggling with it was worth it, because a controller, as much as it's the baby version of CDJs,
yeah, it's not the one. And you also look
it's not enough.
It's basically like being on a bike with training wheels. That's what it kind of looks like.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like a rookie kind of vibe. So yeah, exactly. I was like, nah.
I'm glad you got pushed in the right direction. I mean, it's not bad to start on a controller just for you to have an equipment to practice on at home, but the real is definitely getting into equipment that is in all venues throughout the country, because if you go anywhere else, you'll find CDJs. You're not going to find a plug-in point for you to put your controller unless you're going to have a laptop.
True.
And that's a whole other conversation all on its own. But I like your DJ journey, and shout outs to you again for taking the plunge, because hey, this DJing thing, we need more and more females. As you see, Zinhle is always trying to promote more female DJs in whatever platforms that she has. And the more that she has, the more females who are going to be prominent in this industry. So I like the fact that you're a go-getter, but you're also a go-getter in other spheres of your life. So I did mention you're also a radio presenter, but not just a radio presenter. You're an award-winning radio presenter.
Yes.
So you're on Tuks FM, you do the breakfast show, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So how did your radio journey begin? Take us down a trip of memory lane with you and your radio journey.
Miss Cosmo, it was tough. So I got into radio, Tuks FM, like 4 years ago. It was still fees must fall. So I applied at Tuks FM, and then they took so long to respond because of fees must fall. Things were all over the place. So they finally called me. They're like, yo, I was in the library even studying. They call me. I'm like, yo, what's up? They're like, hey, is this a lady? I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, we want you to come to Tuks FM for an interview, a voice test and everything. You made it. I'm like, hey, that's dope. But they're like, no, relax. We just want to talk to you first and see if you fit what we're looking for. I'm like, all right, 9 a.m. sharp. I'm there in the interview. We talk. They took me in. So we had a 6-week training type of program. And after 6 weeks, if you don't fit the criteria, you're out. And I was one of 2 people who was so terrible at radio. When I spoke to my boss, weeks after everything, he was like, you know, you and this particular girl was so bad at radio. We were considering letting you guys go, but we gave you guys the benefit of the doubt. So I did graveyard shifts for like half the year. I finally moved up to the lunch show for a couple of months. And then they were like, okay, go to the drive show. I went to the drive show. But then they were like, let's try you out on the breakfast show. And I think the switch from the drive show to the breakfast show was essential for me because I brought in a different energy in the breakfast show than the afternoon drive. I think in the afternoon drive, I came after class, I was tired, I was demotivated. Now I have to chat. So I was like, I was tired. So I think in the breakfast show, I come with my initial energy. I'm naturally a loud person. So I get there, make a noise, shake things up. And I think, yeah, that's the kind of energy that people need. I mean, if you are in your car and you're listening to someone in the morning, early, you need someone who's not gonna rub off their energy that's weak and just dampen your day. And now you feel like, oh, she's tired, I'm tired. You switch off your radio, you play your aux, or you listen to another station. So I'm constantly on that tip that I have to always bring it all the time. So yeah, I've been doing the breakfast show for almost 8 months. I started late last year. And then, yeah, I've been doing it ever since. I used to have a co-host. We used to do it together. It was everything. And then when I got nominated, because I got nominated as a breakfast presenter, and my show also got nominated as well. So it was a very big deal because I've always wanted to go to awards. I think for the first 3 years, when I was on radio and doing shows, I never got nominated for anything. And I don't think it's because I'm terrible. I think it's because my things were not submitted. But that's a chat for another day. However, but it's okay. Yeah, when they finally submitted my stuff and I was nominated, I was great. I was feeling great. It was great for everyone. The station was proud. And then, yeah, I've been doing breakfast ever since. I took a break recently during lockdown because we didn't have access to the studio. But now that we're back, everything is back. I'm back in studio and everything is going well.
That's so dope, man. I appreciate people who are multifaceted in their industries because it shows that you've got a drive to be more than one thing or more than what people think that you're capable of. So the fact that you were able to excel even in the radio space is really dope. Your story and my story kind of similar with regards to DJing and radio because it was, okay, I'm starting out a bit slow, not really confident, but then also just wanting to get somewhere and wanting people to hear. Radio is not one of those easy spaces to be in because you constantly have to be innovative. You constantly have to bring your energy, as you mentioned. You constantly have to bring content that people are thinking of that you will be able to deliver in a specific manner. So what is it that you think about your radio that got you that nomination and that got you that award?
I think more than anything, my ability to think out of the box. I like to think out of the box, one, and also I am open about a lot of things. So one thing they really teach us when we have our training sessions with our boss and everything, they're like, you know, when you are being personal with your listener, that's when you get them. So I'm always there sharing my experiences and I'm always open like a book. I don't filter anything. I think also I spend a lot of time talking to my colleagues as well, because I feel like if you open yourself to different perspectives, you allow yourself to have a broad kind of insight of what people would like to hear. Because I might want to talk about makeup, but you find that makeup, people are not really interested in that. Let's talk about how to make the perfect scrambled egg. Because people out there still don't know how to make the perfect scrambled egg.
Some people don't even know how to make eggs, period.
You know what I'm saying? You know, and it's something as simple as that. Like, okay, when I go to an interview and they ask me this question, how would I answer it? All of us are going to interviews. And if not all of us, most of us, you are going to be in a space where you chat to someone and they ask you questions, and you need to be able to, you know, switch it up and like do something different. And that's something that I always bring to the show, something that's informative, something that's entertaining, something that's at least funny. And I always want to make sure that whatever I speak about, when someone listens, it grabs their attention because they relate to what I say, and also they understand because they've also maybe experienced something similar. So I think that's what I always focus on when I do radio, is that touch someone's heart, touch someone, relate to them, and that way you see people also want to talk like, yo, because I also got arrested during lockdown. So I was talking about Level 5. I was going to record and I got arrested, and I spoke about it, and this other guy was like, yo, I was going to check on my girlfriend, I got arrested. This other guy was like, yo, I got arrested, I was outside, and it was outside curfew. So it's these kind of things that are not necessarily controversial, but the unconventional ways of just, you know, living your life like every other person. And some people, you know, are so different that when you relate to them, they're like, yay, you're actually my guy. So that's always one thing that I always aim to do.
That's so true, especially about radio, because you want the listener to walk away feeling as though that they're your best friend after the show. So they get to hear a little bit more about you. They get to feel a little bit more about you. And when they meet you in person, they're like, oh my gosh, I listen to your show all the time. I really think it's funny. Like my best friend, because that's what you end up becoming. You end up becoming somebody's personal friend because you share your stories. You gave us a little bit of an idea of how hard it was for you to get your radio career off to a start. What was that one thing that got you through for you to continue pushing and not necessarily decide, you know what, I'm going to give up because clearly I'm not winning?
You know, Miss Cosmo, I think I have a whole set of goals that are already set up. I know where I want to go. I know that I'll get there. But I know that the only way to get to where I need to go or where I need to be is by being consistent and persevering and always doing what you need to do. I always knew what I needed to do. I was always there for shows. I'd always be there 5 days a week. Attend every session of training, attend all my crit sessions. If I don't understand anything, I ask. And every time they're looking for someone, I always raise my hand. So this is what, and also because I'm showing my boss that, look, I got what it takes, but also it's also beneficial for me because this is training. You can never say you're the best radio presenter in the world and like you can even stop working and then one day when you wake up you're going to be the best. I feel like every single day is a chance for you to improve because there's always room for improvement. So my consistency and having to always do it. I do radio on Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, I'm in radio. Like I'm on my birthday, I'm doing radio.
That's gonna change. That's gonna change when you become a prominent. Because you're gonna have to
and you know what I'm saying? I'd be there on Christmas Day and I'm like, people are not probably listening, but I always give my best. So even in circumstances where I feel like, you know what, I really don't want to be here, I always make sure that my every show and my last show is my best show. So yeah, I think that's always gotten me going. You know what? Just keep on going. There's always someone listening. And that's one thing that I really learned, that whatever you do, do the best, do it to the best of your ability because there's always someone listening. Where I might be doing my radio show, Kanti, I don't know, someone from, 947 or Metro is listening and they're like, hey, actually this girl is dope, let me hit her up. And there's been stories like that where people are like, I was doing my radio show one day and, you know, someone called me, they're like, yo, come in, we want to join our commercial radio station. So I've seen that, I've witnessed that. I know it's possible, I know it can happen, and that's what's keeping me going.
Nice. All right, so with that, before we close off, give me your ultimate radio station you'd like to work for and your ultimate event that you'd like to play, because I mean we've done Fontaine now, so what's next?
I think one radio station that I'd really love to be a part of is 947. I think it's hip, it's happening, it's Joburg. I love Joburg because Joburg is where everything is happening. I'm originally a Pretoria girl, and because of Pretoria, I think I have a young pantsola in me. So I know the streets, I'm street smart. I just need to get into Joburg because I can see there's opportunities in Joburg. So 947 is the ultimate place that I'd like to join. I think it's very in touch with people. I relate a lot to their presenters. They're not too old.
Wow, shots fired. Okay.
Yeah, no, no. I think they have a lot of fresh content, so that's one thing that I really like. Despite age, if you have fresh content, then you already got me. And one ultimate event that I really, really would love to be a part of, I think at a bigger space, I think Rocking the Daisies. I'd really want to go to that festival, and I'm even planning on playing on several stages, not just the house stage. I'm broadening my avenue so I can learn how to play funk, and maybe a little bit of hip hop, because I know how to play hip hop. I just don't like playing it because I don't know it.
And it's fine. You know what? I think one thing people also need to understand is that doing something in the arts needs to speak to you. So if a certain genre doesn't speak to you, then you can't necessarily force yourself to do it, which is why for me hip hop is what spoke to me, and that's why I became a hip hop DJ. I dabble in a little bit of Afro beats here and there, but I can't all of a sudden shift into deep house because it's not who I am. I don't understand it. I don't even connect deep house music, so it won't make sense. So if it doesn't fit for you, then don't do it. But if funk and pop and other types of music then fit for you, then go ahead and experiment.
Yeah, so I'm planning on expanding my avenues, funk and old school like 80s music, just incorporating it into house and everything. I think it's gonna be dope. I don't think anyone has done it to a point where they mesh funk and house in that kind of way. So that's one thing that I want to do, take advantage of that. And also I would like to play at a strictly house event, like your Transmix Soul or like Kid Funk's events, and maybe like deep in the city, beat in the capital. That's my type of vibe. I think that's where I'd be most happy.
That's so dope, man. Such an awesome conversation. I just wanted to give you a shout out, and I wanted to obviously put you on this platform for people to get to know Linanza just a little bit more. What else can we look forward to from Linanza for the next couple of months, or maybe even the next 2 years? Because clearly 2020 is a bit cancelled. But what are your plans? Where else do you kind of see yourself kind of taking your brand? And also, please just give us just one tip that you have for us to stay safe during this time of lockdown.
Okay, I think what you can expect from me is music, because I'm talking to a couple of producers. I want to release my debut single soon, and also compile an EP. So that's really something that I'm really passionate about. I've already started making my own beats with my mouse and recording them on my voice memos. I know I'm gonna find a producer who's gonna put that onto paper. So I'm doing that. I'm also graduating, so I might be in corporate soon. So I'm gonna be a corporate DJ as well.
Don't do that to yourself. That's career suicide. Please don't be a corporate DJ.
No. I'm gonna be a DJ who's in corporate. So I'm gonna be DJ corporate.
Okay.
Vibe.
Yes.
And then also, I think more than anything, more festivals, more corporate events as well. I'd like to go international as well. I'm still organizing with people so that I can be not a curtain raiser, but like a partner with a certain DJ, so that wherever they go, before they play, I'm given a platform to play. So that's something that I'm really excited about. Very prominent group. I think it's going to be a good journey. But otherwise, the next 2020, you can look out for me. I'm going to be still a resident in Waterfall. So that's great. I'm still a resident in Hatfield. I'm still a resident in Centurion. So yeah, further than that, I think new music, more appearances, and a degree.
Sky's the limit, babe. Sky is definitely the limit. And shout outs to you for still making sure that your school is looked after over and above just your work on the side, because people also need to understand that education is just as important as going after you. And I like the fact that you're trying to mesh the two of them together. So as I did ask you, please give us one tip to stay safe and not get arrested during lockdown.
I think it's very simple. I think, we all know what we need to do, but can people just please wear their masks? I know that it's difficult. People are saying that, I can't breathe, whatever. Please wear the mask. I feel like we've also been given a privilege to be able to do what we want, as in like go out, you can sit down at a restaurant, have your coffee, have your meeting, whatever. Just wear your mask. I feel like that's the most important thing ever. Wear your mask, because I can say sanitize, whatever. That's what we need to do. But it's not like you go around touching people. But the fact that you wear a mask protects not only you, but the waiters and the people around you, your family members, your friends, and all of that, because that's the fastest way to contract this virus. So I just want to say, wear your mask. Even if it's branded, go get your branded masks. Write your name on it. Put a photo. Just wear your mask. That's all I ask.
Yes, that's all we need from you. Thank you so much, Nanza.
That's all.
I appreciate.
Thank you so much, Ms. Cosmo.
Appreciate the time as well, and keep on pushing, man. I love your drive, and I hope to hear you on that other station. You know me, I'm the competitor. But I really hope that your dreams do come true and you keep on pushing, and I'll be watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the platform. It's been really dope.
You heard it from the girl herself, Linanza, who is a house DJ. She's also a radio presenter on Tuks FM, award-winning breakfast radio show presenter for that. Keep on watching out for her. I really think she's going to be shooting the lights out in this entertainment industry, and she's one to definitely keep your eye on. All right, coming up in a few, where I am going to be chatting to Tabsi. So we're back here on She's Social Podcast, and I do have my second guest ready and waiting to chat to me. I do have the one and only, the beautiful songstress, Tabsi. Hey, Tabs. How are you?
I'm good, and you, my love? How are you?
I'm all right. Lockdown, we're inside, we're trying to keep warm, because this past week, with the cold fronts that have hit the country, has just been
crazy.
Otherwise.
Yeah.
How have you been keeping warm? Well, I guess when you've got a blanket with ice there, so you've been keeping warm in the right ways. Not just of ice.
Yeah, I've got a personal human water bottle, hot water bottle. But I'm actually kind of glad. I'm kind of glad. One of the pros of being on lockdown is that you're on lockdown in winter.
Yes. I was actually saying that the other day. I was like, you know what? Lockdown completely sucks, but I'm happy it's happening in winter, because there's nothing worse in the world than going to a gig, ukotola. Now you must be there focusing, you've got your head, you're shivering the whole time.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's one of the blessings of this lockdown. One of the very few blessings.
Very few blessings. But there have been other blessings as well. Obviously, people kind of increasing their social media presence. We see that your numbers are climbing very nicely there by the Instagram. And I see that you've been busy with a lot of brands as well. But before we get into all of the work you've been busy with on lockdown, I just wanted to also kind of dig deep a bit into your journey, just for those who don't necessarily know who the real Tabsi is. Obviously, we know for all your hit singles, Yasfela that you had with Questa, the music that you've done with Kid X, of course, your new singles, Pesihle, as well, that's doing so awesomely. Your Finally Challenge that you also did as well. We're going to jump into that. Music has always been something that you've been into, but it hasn't always been your number one career. And you started off, like myself, in the corporate space.
Yes.
You were working in investment banking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
How did you get yourself into investment banking, and why?
Dude, I mean, I think the biggest part of me, I'm such a realist, and I mean, music was music for me. It was something that I was constantly doing, as you mentioned, but I was a realist, and I just thought to myself, there's no way I'm going to make it in the music industry. It's that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome, and so I decided to just kind of go the generic routes and go study, get my degree, go work for a bank. I wanted to be like a chief economist. That was my dream. But God had other plans. And ironically, you and I actually worked at the same bank.
Yes.
So I've heard. Once I started working in an investment bank, I think that's when I really realized that this is not what I'm trying to do. This is not what this is not what I thought it was going to be. And then I thought, let me just maybe try and pursue this music thing and see if it works. You know what I'm saying? Because if it doesn't work, then I can always just fall back on what I've worked hard for in terms of the corporate space and my academic vibes. So I'm really glad music worked out because I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yes. But what's the one thing that you think you can take away from working in a corporate space that's helped you in your entertainment career right now?
I think you just learn a certain level of like professionalism and also just being educated, just going to school, getting your degree helps you just think in a, I don't know, I think it gives you a business mind, especially when it comes to the music industry. So it's really helped me turn my brand into a business and how to, manage myself as an artist and as a brand. I think all of that backing, that corporate backing, that, knowing what it is to be professional and how you should handle things has really helped me. And I apply it in everything I do now.
Yes, I think it's important, especially from just understanding what next do you want to do, how else can I get myself there, how to even speak to clients, how to speak to promoters, how to speak to brands, how to send an email, something as basic as that. I think definitely goes a long way, and the training comes through there as well. But you came through where a lot of people heard from you for the first time with that hit single with Questa. How do you think that kind of shifted things for you with regards to thinking yourself as a big artist and not necessarily as somebody who is doing backing vocals for someone like Donald? We're going to get into that in a moment, but I just wanted to jump into the single with Questa.
I mean, look, I always say that single and how it came about and everything behind that was just God showing me that this is where I was supposed to be, because I really wasn't trying to be that solo artist. I knew I loved singing, and I was very content with just knowing that I can sing, regardless of whether that meant I was just a backing vocalist or I'm singing in my shower or whatever. But I was just happy to be able to kind of do the singing thing. I was very afraid to kind of be the artist in the limelight. But the Questa collaboration really just kind of catapulted me into this world. And I think then I realized that, okay, snap, I think God is saying something to me and this is actually where I belong, and I really need to respect that and make it work. And the moment that song dropped and I started picking up and people started, hearing about me and loving my voice, that just kind of fed the desire to really want to make this very successful, because I'm super competitive with myself.
Well, you're competitive with yourself, but you also seem like you're one of those people who can be competitive, but you're also, okay, let's get back to reality. Okay, let's get back to humility.
Yes.
You say so many times that you didn't want to be the big star, but here God is pushing you in that direction and you're forcing yourself to be that big star. So are you accepting of the challenge?
I said, challenge accepted, Lord. I will do it. Definitely accepting of it. And I think once I had then decided that, okay, cool, this is where I'm at, and this is an opportunity I've been given that so many artists would die for. There was no way I could throw that away. There was no way I could be like, oh, no, let me just stick to my banking. Let me, it was an opportunity that does not come for many. So I decided that this is definitely something I'm going to give 150% to. And, as you know, the rest is history. It's been crazy. It's been a crazy 3 years. It's literally only been 3 years, which is still very wild for me.
That is extremely wild, especially for a vocalist in South Africa. As you know, a lot of people always kind of sit back and they look at R&B as one of those genres that do so well for international artists, but maybe not the same for South African artists. And then you find yourself given an opportunity where you're doing backing vocals for Donald, who's taken the R&B throne and said, look, I'm going to make this a journey for South Africa to accept R&B for what it is. Take us through that journey of firstly how you met Donald, working with him, and how you feel about R&B as a whole.
So I remember I was in varsity when I started doing my backings for Donald specifically, but I used to just sing at Res, the singing competitions at Res, very low key. And then one day I got a call from a musical director called Chadwin Alexander. He's really big in the industry, has done so many amazing things. And he needed me to fill in for one day on a show because the girl who usually does the backings was sick. So I was just coming in as a temp, and then I came onto the show. It was the first episode and I ended up shooting the entire season, and this was a show called Strip Down, and I sang for the likes of Kulichana, Casper, Maporisa was on the show. So I got exposed to all these very talented musicians that were doing so well. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually so amazing. And then through that, I then started singing for Donald because Chad was Donald's musical director. So started doing backing vocals for Donald, and that's actually just how it all kind of came together. So it was just, again, fate put me there, and ended up touring. You know, I would juggle schooling and touring with Donald. And I mean, obviously I looked up to him, and, you know, him being an R&B musician was a big deal because that's the music that I make. So I was really blessed to kind of be able to shadow a fellow R&B musician. And I just think that, you know, R&B right now, especially in South Africa, is doing so well. You've got your Elaines and your Shekinahs that can sing, and they can sing fully in English, and South as like accepting of it, you know, because I feel like for the longest time our country only accepted R&B from an American artist, and if anyone else tried to do it, it didn't work. I think the last person to do it successfully before now was TK, you know, back in the day. And so now we have like all these amazing female artists that are like fully doing R&B, like really doing R&B. Like I kind of do like Afro pop, you know. I do R&B, but there's some Afro pop to it. But they are fully doing R&B, and I'm so excited that the country is so ready to absorb that and receive it. So yeah, we're in a good space as R&B musicians.
We are definitely in a good space, but you also find yourself dabbling a lot with hip-hop artists. You find
Yes.
that a lot of vocalists who are working in the South African music space tend to skew towards working with house producers or making house vocals for house songs, because South Africa is a house nation. Why is it that you had purely decided to kind of steer towards hip-hop more than the house genre?
I think I definitely, and there's two reasons. One, mainly because I'm a hip-hop head. Like I absolutely love hip-hop. And because I'm very inspired by American R&B, I knew that my style of singing would work well with hip-hop music. You know what I'm saying? So I deliberately, like for the first year in the industry, only did hip-hop features because, first of all, I'm obsessed with hip-hop. But then it allowed me to kind of really showcase the type of music I like making, you know. So that was the reason why. And yeah, I guess now I explore a bit more with different genres, but before it was just all about, say, look, I'm an R&B musician, and I want people to know me as an R&B musician, and I could only do that through hip hop.
And I think you're loving the music that you're putting out. And you did mention that you dabble a little bit more towards the Afro pop side of things, and not necessarily 110% R&B. Is there a reason for you to kind of then decide, okay, let's go a little bit Afro popish? Were you too scared to go 100% R&B with your music?
So yeah, you know, I think I started like fooling around in the studio and making my own solo music in about 2015. And at that time, I just didn't see any girls who were fully successfully doing the full-on R&B thing. And that was just a bit of my worry. But then also, I did that collab with Questa, and I sang in Vernac. That was the first time I ever wrote and sang in Vernac, right? And I feel like because that song was so big, I almost kind of gave South Africa the impression that that's the kind of artist I am. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I came out with the Zulu, I came out with that Afro-pop ballad meets hip-hop vibe. And, you know, I kind of like played myself in that sense, because then I felt like, okay, let me stick to this for a bit and then slowly start introducing what I'm actually really about. I mean, obviously it's still very me. And I love the fact that I started to incorporate my language and make R&B South African, you know? So I think it was just, it was kind of because I hadn't seen anyone fully doing like the R&B. You know, the R&B girls I knew were, you know, your Munewas, and she was also kind of singing in, you know, Xhosa sometimes. Yeah. And I'm really glad that now, like, you know, the Shekinahs have come out and the Elaines have come out, and they're just fully doing it. So it excites me that we can do that now. You know,
slowly but surely, we're going to convert this country to understand where the power of the talent lies. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a specific language for it to travel. As long as the message is important and the message touches you, I think that's what really does matter. All right, so working with someone like a Questa, I remember you once telling me that the song itself, Ngiyasifela Ngawe, was recorded 2 years before it was actually released. So didn't you think that song was completely done and forgotten with before he decided, okay, let's go?
I totally forgot about that song. Like, I genuinely, I mean, look, even when we were making the song, I remember it just also just being a moment that was put together by sheer luck, And when we were making the song, I automatically was like, first of all, this is a rapper song. I don't know no rapper that's released a ballad, like a slow jam pouring his heart out as an actual single. So automatically when we made the song, I just thought, you know what? I'm just so glad I got to be on his album. And it was like the second last song on the second disc. You know what I'm saying? It just wasn't, I didn't think that it would be, received so well. And so 2 years went by. He had released the album, and he had released about 4 singles before Nyasfela, which I think was the final single from that album. And they just contacted me and they said, like, dude, these people love the song. Like, they love the song. We got to do something, And coincidentally, when I had quit my job, didn't have a plan. I quit my job and I went back to being a backing vocalist. And I remember my very first gig going back, I called up Donald. I said, bro, I've quit my job. I want to still do music, but right now I'm in between. So can I just come back and sing for you? And the first gig I did with him was December 2016. I had quit November 2016. Then December 2016, I do a gig with Donald. As I'm leaving the stage, Questa and them are coming on the stage and they're like, bro, the song is a really big deal. We're going to shoot the video. We're going to release it. We'll call you up in 2 weeks. Beginning of January, we shoot the song. February, everything just catapulted. So it's a really crazy story, and I'm just so glad that like it happened. And I mean, I could have let the fact that it didn't pop off immediately discourage me, but God's time God's timing is so impeccable.
The divinity of God and how he pushes you to do what he wants you to do is always just inexplicable, but it's amazing nonetheless. I think that's one thing you can always be in awe of. All right, so obviously that kind of puts you in a platform where people are now hearing you and they're paying attention. Now you're back in studio, you're releasing new music. You've got Finally Out, which is also doing such huge things on radio. You've also got Spesihle, which is also doing really well. Where is this journey taking you now? Are you going to give us an album? Is an EP on the way? What are we expecting from Thabsie?
So I spent most of last year working on an album that I feel like I basically completed, like I was done. And the whole thing was to release it this year. And then obviously coronavirus, did its thing. And so because I feel like it's an album and it's a big deal, I've just kind of put that on hold. And I'm only going to release it once I can fully give it my all, without everything else that's going on in this world. But in the meantime, I'm using this time actually to learn how to become a vocal engineer. So I'm teaching myself how to, mix and one day, obviously, hopefully master my own vocals. I'm teaching myself how to record my own vocals because I kind of want to upskill, So I've put a studio in my place now, and like, this is downtime for a lot of artists, and I think that we should be using it to upskill in any way possible. That's going to make us more valuable of an artist when our world opens up again, because it is tough times. And so I've decided to use this time just to take a break from it all and just kind of upskill and know things technically that I didn't know before, that I relied on other people to do. And now that I can't have people around me, I need to be able to do these things myself. Yeah, so I'm just using this time to really just become a better artist, like holistically, and also working on other aspects of my brand.
Nice. I see that quite often, especially on your social media, because not only are you obviously doing the more influencer type of stuff where you're pushing your brand, you're pushing your social media numbers, which are growing very well. But I also like the fact that you are always kind of trying to tap back into the music for people to remember, listen, Thabsie is a vocalist. I'm not just the girl who posts pictures. So you had a challenge recently with Tseho AMG, who is Questa's head bassist. And he had played a couple of strings on some of your music as well. Tell us about that challenge and why you wanted to get other vocalists to kind of get involved.
So I think I'm just like an advocate for the underdog. I was an underdog that was given an opportunity by someone who was bigger and well established in the industry. And so I just thought to myself, like, while I've got this downtime, what can I do to kind of like involve the people that have been supporting me and that also have dreams to kind of be a Tabsi one day or be in this industry? And so then I decided, let me do this acoustic challenge. Let me actually release the song with up and coming artists that no one has heard of and give other people an opportunity to kind of shine, And I didn't think that the competition would be so it would blow up like that. Like, I got so many entries. It was so overwhelming and such a beautiful thing. And just to see how many talented people there are out there, and all they need is an opportunity is for someone to say, hey, put your voice out on my song, or come and let's do this, you know. And I think that that's kind of what I'm really passionate about, is being that which, you know, Questa was to me, or the artists that featured me, the Donalds, the people that gave me an opportunity. I want to be that for other people. And that was my main reason for doing the Finally Acoustic Challenge. And there was just so much talent that I found that I actually chose a top 6 that I'm going to do the whole song with, as opposed to just one winner.
Wow, that's so great. I think even some of the girls that you have found, or some of the vocalists that you have found who actually came through on that, even some of the ones that I had watched, because you kept reposting them on your socials. And I was like, yo, there's so much talent in South Africa that's just sitting, and we need to have competitions like this that's going to unearth them as well. So shout out to you for taking the plunge to actually, you know, involving other artists within your music as well. And also for people to kind of tap back into it and fall in love with the song again, you know. We're also finding, especially at a time like this, because it is lockdown, people aren't necessarily listening to a lot of like heavy like groove music with trap, hip hop, you know. Those streams seem to be decreasing, but R&B and acoustic type of streams are actually increasing. Are you seeing a bit of the uptick with regards to your music as well, because people are more chilled and relaxed and listening to more soulful music?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I monitor my streams as an artist, I do, and I've seen a huge growth in people listening to, you know, my music and R&B specifically. I just think that there's something very calming and easing about that music, and everyone is really stressed right now. You know what I'm saying? We're all very super anxious. We don't know what's happening, and I love that people use music as a tool to just kind of express themselves, or relax themselves, or put themselves at ease, and or escape. You know. So it's a blessing to be an artist right now, because I think people are actually starting to listen to the music. You know, they're listening to the message. They're actually sitting down and ingesting it. And it's not just because we're super drunk at a gig, you know.
We're not just singing along.
Woo! Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, that's a positive, I think, when it comes to this lockdown thing, and people are starting to really consume the music differently, which is nice.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time and your patience, Tabsi. We've had such an amazing.
Thank you, Ms. Casmo.
I also just want us to kind of tap into what else can we look forward to from the Tabsi brand for the next 18 months. I can't necessarily count in the rest of 2020 because that seems to be cancelled. But what else can we look forward to that's going to come through from you and your music?
I think people are going to definitely see a different side to me. For the first 3 years in my career, I was very strict about only being about the music and not exposing too much of anything else. But there's so many other things that I'm passionate about, and I really want to start getting into like philanthropy, you know, doing good and showing that, not just because, you know, I'm trying to like, you know, fake it or have people just commend me, but genuinely I want to start using the influence that I have now to do good stuff. You know, I want to move into that space. Of course, the music is still coming. The music is obviously going to be always in the forefront. But there's a lot of other things that I'm going to explore so that people can get to see who Thabsie is from different angles. I can't speak about a lot of things, but there's some exciting things that are coming, you know, end of this year, early next year, that I don't think a lot of people would think that I'll be doing, but it's gonna be exciting. And I think it's just nice now to be in a space where I can do a lot of other things and not just sing. You know,
not just singing, but that's what the art is about. It's always about exposing what other talents you might have for yourself, and not necessarily just be stuck in one lane, because I find a lot of people kind of put themselves into one position and say, okay, I'm a rapper and this is kind of where it's going to explore and see what else you've been blessed with and see where else you can kind of tap into. So it's going to be interesting to keep watching and seeing what you give us from the Tabsi brand. Just one tip that you have with regards to staying safe during this COVID time. I know a lot of people are obviously, you know, the numbers are increasing, and I think as a country we also need to understand that it is in our hands to kind of flatten the curve and get ourselves
Yes.
back to level one. So what would you say that you think people need to do to keep themselves safe during this time?
I just definitely think we need to cooperate. You know what I'm saying? Like, the sooner and faster and quicker that we cooperate, the sooner and faster this will all be over. And I know it's hard. I mean, obviously, catch-22 for a lot of us. We need to leave our houses to eat. But I think for those people that can ultimately stay at home as much as they can, you should. Yeah, just cooperate, man. Guys, just do what the government says. I just want to gig again, you know?
You sound so sad. You're just like, please, just stay home so I can go.
Because our industry is probably the most affected, you know what I'm saying? Like, events and entertainment's only going to open right at the end. So we're pleading with you guys, just stay at home. Stay at home.
Stay at home, flatten the curve, and of course, be safe. But thank you so much for your time, Tabsi. We really appreciate the gems that you've dropped on the She Social podcast for today. And we'll be watching and we'll be listening.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Love you lots, Miss Cosmo. Thank you for having me.
And there you have it, another awesome episode of She Social Podcast here on my YouTube page. I really enjoyed the conversations I had today with Linanza as well as Tabsi. If you did as well, please make sure that you comment right below this video and let me know what your thoughts are of this video. And of course, let me know who else you want me to chat to so we can bring in the conversations and spread more knowledge about people's experiences in the arts industry. All right, please also remember to subscribe and like this video as well. Catch you again next week here on the She Social Podcast.